When I was in 8th grade, my mom died of ALS. And ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It's also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS is a neuromuscular degenerative terminal illness. With ALS, the motor neurons start dying. And as they die, wherever they start in your body, that means that the message that's coming from your brain or your spine to the muscle doesn't get the message from the nerve or the motor neuron. So it doesn't know it's supposed to move. So pretty soon you start losing the use of everything. And at some point, if you get that far, you will not be able to move anything at all. So that includes the ability to speak, the ability to breathe on your own. Your lungs are fine, but the muscles that move your lungs don't work. I was diagnosed January 13th, 2009. I did, however, know that I had it before then because I was taking care of my brother. My wife and I were taking care of my brother, Larry, who had ALS. And I was noticing that I had very similar symptoms to Larry. And I knew just by my body, how my body was working and how my body was feeling and my intuition that I had ALS. It looks like if I were to follow the pattern that I would have about 2.5 years to live. So at this point that would mean about a year in 3 months. I met my wife Linda. She was a kind of well-known musician in Davis. And so we got together. Our official anniversary is June 18th, 1993. We had our first wedding, June 16th, 2001. And that was because at that point there didn't seem like there was any chance of us ever being able to be legally married. So we had a wedding. It wasn't a marriage. It was a wedding, and we had a big celebration at the Davis Art Center, and all my family came and our friends. Of course, none of her family came because they don't speak with her. And it was a big, huge party, and it was just wonderful. In February 27th, 2004, is when San Francisco, the mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom, said in San Francisco County, people can be legally married. Gay people can be legally married. We took my friend Elizabeth and my sister Peggy and her husband Kevin and our dog, who was our ring bearer, and we got our marriage license and we were married. However, immediately the anti-equal rights folks brought it to the California Supreme Court and had our marriage made invalid. We got married again on November 3rd of 2008 or 4th. It was the day before the election. Proposition 8 in California, 2008. There was a yes or no on Proposition 8. As the campaign for Prop 8 went on, and I thought there's no way Californians are going to say we can't get married. You know, there's just no way. I just couldn't believe it. And then the day before the election, I just had this really bad feeling, and I said, honey, we got to do this. There were several different lawsuits that finally ended up in the California Supreme Court ruling that those people, there were 18,000 couples who got married in the time span that we were allowed. Our marriages are valid. So I have the same, Linda and I have the same rights as other married couples in California do. However, we step outside of California and we have none of those rights. There are lists and lists and lists of all the things, all the rights you don't get as a married couple. Probably the most important part of having the equal rights is the Social Security issue. So when I die, Linda because our marriage is not recognized by the federal government, will not get my Social Security benefits. Now, for heterosexual couples all over the country, when somebody dies, their surviving partner gets their Social Security, which is what you would get when you retire, whatever, and you get this monthly stipend from the government because you've been paying all your working life. When they take taxes out of your paycheck, and it goes into this Social Security lump that you're going to get back when, well, if you're living. When you retire, you start living off your Social Security somewhat. If you die, it goes to your partner. So, since the federal government does not recognize that, our marriage, Linda won't get that. And all the money that I would have gotten if I were to live longer, and I would be able to live, help support me financially as I grow into older years, all that money goes nowhere. It just goes back to the government. Linda can't have it. Of course, I immediately checked and called attorneys. What can I do? Someone suggested that I legally adopt Linda. The only way I could do that is if she were mentally incompetent. And I also can't designate it to a sister or brother, nephew, or anything like that. And I don't have any children, so I can't make it go to any other dependent. So all the money that I've earned, that I've paid my taxes to, goes nowhere, and Linda is left without that. And that's just that's the biggest thing that is just so unfair.
So in Cathy's specific case, she's being denied to use a benefit that she paid into. She earned Social Security through her life,
right.
And now, because she will die from her ALS,
right.
She wants her Social Security benefits to devolve to her spouse.
Right, exactly. And that is exactly the problem. Social Security is a federal benefit.
But she put her money into that.
That's right. In the eyes of the federal government, she has no spouse. If I am single, and I've paid into my Social Security all those years, and I am not going to be able to use it because I have a terminal illness and I am going to die, I can't just pick somebody,
right,
my brother, my sister, my best friend, and give them my benefits. The law doesn't allow that. The law says these are benefits that are here to take care of your family. Granted that if it were state law, it would not be a problem. The federal government does not recognize the relationship. In the eyes of the federal government, she is no more related to her spouse than she's related to the next person that walks down the street.
Right.
That's the way it works. They're going to cite the Defense of Marriage Act and say, very sorry, this is a federal benefit and your spouse is not entitled to that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything constitutional at all about it. And I don't think that the federal government has any right, when marriage rights have always been left to the states, for the federal government to come in and pass a law that says, oh, but that particular marriage will not be honored in the federal government. It's going to play its way out. These are the kinds of things that are determined in court.
And I've tried everything and had all sorts of attorneys look into it, and at this point it's not going to happen. Now, let's say if I live, maybe I do make it another year and a half, maybe by then it'll change, which keeps me getting out of bed, striving for equal rights, striving for, I'm the perfect poster child, because here is a real life, tangible subject. You want to know what's unfair about not being able to get married? Okay, here's one. I'm dying. I have a terminal illness, and I pretty much know my lifespan. Linda and I have been together since '93. We were even legally married. And yet, because of the not recognition, and because other people in this country don't think that we're as good as they are, that we deserve the same rights, all of my hard-earned money that could help Linda, who is going to be suffering because she's lost her life partner, that money goes nowhere, back into the government or something. So you want a real life example of why it's not, here you go, right here. Dying person and her wife. And that's real life. And like I said, I'm the poster child for it. You know, and I'm willing to be, you know, plaster me on every wall, put me on every screen.
Thought about this for a long, long time. I want to tell you what's been on my mind. I wish it wasn't so that I have to go. And this is not goodbye, I hope. Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me.